Hello and welcome to the fifth part in this series where I go through the process of building my garden office. In this part I'll be building the back wall. I learned quite a lot from building the floor, so I felt that the back wall came together quite quickly. As you'll see in this video, my work was beginning to be impacted by the weather and I quickly learned that not everything is a one-person job. I've also sped up or skipped some parts that I covered in my previous video so as to not always repeat myself, something that could happen by the time you've watched the construction of the floor and all four walls. As always, I hope you enjoy this video. Right, it's the end of the day, it's the end of Saturday, and I was literally about to cut this tiny piece off of a 4.8 metre length of timber. It's 24.9 centimetres, and I suddenly thought I'll have a look in my offcuts to see if I can find anything that I can use instead of cutting just a little bit of timber off here. I looked through, and sure enough, this piece here is exactly 24.9 centimetres. What are the chances? Winning. Okay, so it's another day. I cut all this timber yesterday. This is all my noggins, joists, headers for the back wall and some for the side walls as well. I stacked up as close as I could to the house to keep any rain and moisture off it. You can see that somewhat worked, that's all right. I'll spread it all out and dry it all out later on. Luckily it's a dry day today. Very good. Yeah. Right, so that is all the timber for my rear and two side walls, as well as four pieces over there. I've just started moving them because I'm going to treat all the ends that I've cut. But yeah, over here we've got all our noggins. These are different size noggins. These are all the same size noggins. These are all wall joists. These are the top and bottom plates for the back and side walls, as well as some over there as well. So I'm going to get to treating those. I didn't think there was any point in refilming me marking up and cutting timber because I've already done that if you've seen my flooring video. So yes, that's all done. Gonna treat it all, have some lunch, and then mark up my top and bottom plates, and then hopefully start screwing together my rear wall today. I'm just marking up my top and bottom plates for my walls, my two side walls and my rear wall, my back wall, and because I'm creating a lot of the same thing, as in the top and the bottom plates for the two side walls, as in four pieces of timber, it's easier to just kind of mark one up and then transfer the lines across to each timber. So what I've done is I've clamped 3 bits of timber together. These clamps won't fit 4, and then I'm just this one was already marked up and I'm just transferring all my lines across, as you can see there, and so on and so forth. So yeah, makes it a lot quicker to kind of do it rather than doing it from scratch every time. And then I've just got to do the top and bottom plates for, these are all the side walls, got to do the top and bottom plates for the rear walls, and then I'm done. I can start putting them together. So I just pulled the tarpaulin off my floor and it was wet yesterday, but for some reason, even though I can't find any holes in my tarpaulin, my OSB is damp, which I do not want. So I'm rapidly drying it up with an old beach towel, but hopefully this won't ruin anything. We'll have to wait and see. I've just remarked up my top plate. This actually be my bottom plate, because if you think when I build this and I push it up like that, this will be the bottom plate. So I need to make sure that the way it's kind of bowing is the right way. So I did it on the other side, I need to do it on this side. So I've done that now. So the bow is kind of coming in this direction. So when I tilt it up, it will flatten it all out. I think that's right. But it's good when you're kind of putting all this all together, just to make sure you're doing the right thing, just to check your work as you're going. with the weather so far, but that might change. I've had a couple of days that has meant I've sort of been rained off by half a day or something, or I've been limited as to what I can do, and I'm particularly paranoid about my OSB sheeting that's on the top level of my floor at the moment, from getting really wet. So what I've done is I have been given a very old, possibly broken gazebo that I intend to erect over the top. I think it's 3x5 or 3x6 meters. So it should cover all of this and should come a fair way across here as well, which means that I can construct things next to the building and put them onto the building as well, without always being on like wet grass or anything like that. And I'm hoping that will help me to be able to work in all weathers. I'm also hoping that I can fix some lights to the inside so I can work not into the evening, because I don't want to disturb or upset any neighbours or anything, but you know, working till say 6 o'clock is probably quite acceptable. This is my rather bodged attempt at keeping my construction, my work site dry. Basically, it's bigger than I thought it was actually. It's 3 meters across the back here, and it's 6 meters this way. It would normally have an opening there, but I've made sure all the sides are kind of essentially around here, and you've got this one as well. I could always put that around the front, but I thought that that was a better place to put it if I had them all along the fence. I've attached them to each pole, and all the poles, with the exception of these kind of brackets here, which I could kind of tackle as well, are taped up. So I'm hoping that that means that all the joints won't come apart. It all seems pretty sturdy, and you know, obviously when I was walking it across the garden, no part of it was becoming loose or falling apart or anything. And then I've attached them with 2 long 100mm screws through, not just through into the fence, but also the backing boards that run along the fence. There's one at the bottom, one in the middle, and then one at the top. And I've attached it into the middle one at each point where there is a leg on the fence. So I'm hoping that you know, definitely makes sure that the whole thing won't fly off. And then each one, and then obviously the roof itself, which is fine. It's got there's a couple of little holes there. There's a bigger hole, which I think I'll try and tape up from the inside, and you know, just have a quick check over and make sure there aren't any other holes that are obviously going to let in water. But all of these are attached down the sides of the legs, using like a metal hook into the bottom of the legs here. For the legs that aren't attached to the fence, I've hammered them in with metal pegs. It probably won't be a brilliant job, because obviously the ground's quite soft. You can see it's quite muddy here. My shoes are absolutely caked in mud, but I'm hoping that it will be enough just to keep the bit that I'm working on dry, keep my OSB dry. I'm still going to throw a tarpaulin over the whole thing, because obviously there are little gaps down here that you can see the grass through there. You know, and obviously wind and water could blow things in this way and everything, so I'm still going to cover over with the big sheet of tarpaulin, which is outside, you can see through there. But ultimately, I'm hoping this will do a good job. I have got a patio heater. I wonder if I could heat this space. Warmth whilst working in the winter, that'd be good. I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'm going to see how well it fares in the wet weather that we're meant to have tonight. Stay tuned. Right, I'm taking my shoes off for this bit because that area there that used to be patio and trees and stuff is so unbelievably muddy that I keep walking mud across everything and it's really frustrating. So I'm going to weed control fabric that probably in a few days time so that I don't have to keep treading mud through everything. So 3, 6, 4.9. And probably should do this one. Three, 6, 4 point. Oh, it's not bad. Yeah. Very happy with that. Awesome. This is the first time I've been in the gazebo since I set it up yesterday, and we've had a lot of rain overnight. You can see it all on there. My little rubbish patch is just not held up there, but everything in here, this is completely dry. There's a bit of rain over there where it's obviously coming the side, and you can see there that strap has broken. To be fair, when I was putting it out yesterday, I did notice that the straps aren't very good, as you can see, it's sort of pulling there. But the ones around the top are pretty good actually. So it's nice to see that everything's all kind of in place still. I'm going to unravel the all of this here and see what it's like underneath. So this is a problem I had when I was putting together my floor. Is basically on SketchUp everything's obviously a perfect rectangle, but when you're dealing with wood, you know, each one of these will have an amount of tolerance or variation, and I've cut all my noggins the same length, which is what it isn't to plan. But obviously when it comes to it, you know, some of these bow a bit, some of them the wrong, you know, slightly different sizes, and so I get to a point where some noggins will fit and others won't. So what I did with my floor and what I'm doing now is that I've measured the gaps between all of these. I'm going to trim off some of my noggins, just a couple of mil, and then put them all in, and then that way they'll fit. I found that if they're too snug a fit, I can't keep the building square. So I'm hoping that once I've done this, I'm going to go into the garage, do this on a nice saw, because obviously it's wet out and I can't have it out today. And then, yeah, get this all together, and then hopefully I can put the OSB on straight after this. Okay, so I had a slight panicky moment. I was outside in the back garden making the back wall, and I put the first OSB sheet on, which is this one, and I forgot to overlap it by 11 millimeters, so that it means that hang on, where's my thing? So that it basically comes over the OSB for the sidewall. However, this is one of those things, and I haven't come across too many of them yet, where in theory, on the screen it looks good, but in practice it doesn't necessarily work. So my joint for this piece of OSB here, rotate this, is, I don't know how well you can see that, and I'm sorry it's not a proper screenshot, but you can see here it overlaps. It's not bang on the center, and that's a miscalculation on my part, but my joint on the OSB aligns more or less exactly where this is without the 11 mil hangover. So I think what I'm going to have to do is, when I build the sidewalls, I won't put the OSB on them at all. I will put the OSB on them after I have erected them, and then I will put the OSB on. Now that's okay, because if we look at this, you'll see that I have to use a thin slice of OSB along here anyway. Now that's my fault. That's because I didn't create it according to the right measurements. I could have made it the perfect measurements for an OSB a sheet of OSB board, but I didn't. And that's the difference between working in centimeters and meters and feet and inches. But because I got to create this strip, it's okay, because my little strip will be just a little bit longer, and I've got more than enough room in my in the offcut from this to be able to put on here to accommodate for that. So it's just a little example of those little things that appear when you're kind of building stuff, and you have to kind of think around them a little bit. But yeah, never mind. Fortunately, it's all fitting together really well. That's the first real snag. It's not really snag at all. Instead of overlapping at the back, it'll overlap at the sides instead. Not a problem. So I've got a cut across here, starting from there, going from here all the way along to the other side. So what I've done is I've set the height of my circular saw to, well, 11 mil more or less, which is the thickness of the OSB. And then I've made a line under here and then transferred it onto the top, just so I know that that's my starting point. But I think if I kind of follow the blade along, it should allow me to cut more or less a straight line all the way along this piece of timber to the other side. Let's see. Yeah, that sort of worked. I just want to... Holy hell. That I didn't expect. Not too bad, but you can see, this is where the thing backfired on me, but you can see it went off a bit there. Then I started to follow the line, and then it just went off a bit there. So it's gone into, because I had it set at a height that wasn't too bad, it shouldn't have gone too far into my timber, but I just need to essentially try and follow the line. In fact, I might even start from the other side instead, go from there. So it is frosty this morning. I think we also had a slight dusting of snow. I think everything is held up. Oh yeah, the ground's hard. Everything's held up. Today, I'm going to try and raise my back wall. Hurrah! And that is the back wall complete. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. I appreciate it was a bit longer than some of my other ones. Hopefully the next one will be shorter where I'll be constructing the 2 side walls. See you in the next video.